Luke Perry is here.
Yeah, man.
Luke, how's it going, man?
So far, so good.
Taking a trip back into, I guess, teen TV?
Yeah, there's some
kind of.
This is an adult teen TV.
Right. It's not just teenage melodrama.
Not just teenage melodrama. We got a lot of adult melodrama, too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's important.
It is.
That's what you need at this point in your life is some adult melodrama.
Yes, I represent the higher end of the demographic now. You see, they go from 18 to 49. I'm clearly up at the other end of that demographic. So we need to make sure that they get some good playing time.
But you're in there.
In there.
You're not past that.
No.
You're in that demo still.
No, I'm past it. I'm past it.
But you're still hitting it. What I'm saying, the demo.
Trust me, I'm still hitting it.
That's what I want to hear. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So the show is Riverdale, of course, on the CW. It's Thursdays at 9 p.m. And I have to imagine, obviously, you're playing. It's like, and it's not just like a teen melodrama show because it's a little bit sci-fi. It's like a crime drama.
It is.
It's a
about
mystery.
A crazy town.
Yes.
Like in this town of Riverdale, all kinds of crazy stuff can happen.
Right. And I would imagine that there have been I would think that a lot of people have tried to get you to be a father on a teen-oriented drama just because of that 90210 throwback, and it's that thing. Like, has that offer at least been made a lot throughout the...
Never occurred to me to do it.
Yeah.
Never thought about doing that. And I didn't think about doing it here. I said, nah, I don't want to read that.
I figured that you would have not wanted to do that because you don't need to dip back in and
I didn't know. It's not about dipping back in or any of that, but to find a character that's got a future and has got some real stuff to do, and it's not just like, hey, son, what are you, this ain't that. And I wasn't looking for that. But the writing on this show serves up for me a great three-dimensional character to play who's just a simple dude. He's a salt-of-the-earth kind of guy, blue-collar, construction worker, cares very much about his son, only about his son. And I love that's enough. They don't got to dress him up in any way.
Right.
This is who he is and what he does. There's a lot of integrity to it.
And is that you? Like, are you? Because I was reading an article and it was talking about the advice that you give to the younger cast members of the show, based on your own experience, and that you were telling them is what this article said, to focus on the work, not the who's on the poster, who's on the magazine cover, the scandal here, because and 100% right. Without good work, none of the glamour and the rest of the stuff exists.
I explained to them that all this stuff, this social media and the things that are taking their attention and all the ways that they're marketing and promoting, that all goes away if you don't do the work, if we don't make the scenes good.
Right. And I find, too, that, like, there are people who, if the work is good enough, they can survive without even having social media. Like, it's possible.
I don't do any social media.
You do nothing.
Nothing. And I survive.
Yeah, you do okay.
I'm doing okay. I'm surviving. Look, if somebody had come up to you 20 years ago and said, I have followers. Yeah,
right.
I have people that follow me. You would want to get away from that person as fast.
Maybe like, okay, Charles Manson. That's
exactly.
Good to know.
Great. Oh, he had followers too.
Yeah.
I don't want followers.
Right. I got a ranch. I got followers. I got the whole
deal. I don't
deal.
want anybody following me.
Yeah. You're good.
I'm good.
Yeah. So fans are okay.
I like them. They're good.
Admirers.
What about them?
But not followers.
No.
There's a line.
Don't want
isn't there?
anybody following me.
Because I guess that's true. Because with the social media, it's like, it becomes not somebody who is appreciating your work or who likes the show or who likes whatever you're doing. It's no. I'm following his life.
Yeah,
I want updates on everything he's doing.
And I see people trying to service that on the other end and update their feeds with what they're doing in their life and what they're eating. Ain't nobody's business but mine,
right.
What I'm doing.
You don't have any desire to share with the world what tonight's dinner is?
No.
And good for you. Did you see that what caught wind on social media was you checking out your son's debut wrestling match?
I heard something about that.
Yeah. What? So did you see the video, or you just heard that it was in the ether?
No, I saw it.
Yeah. Were you surprised that it drew as much attention as it did?
I try not to think about it. That's not my end of it. I don't. It's him doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I want him to have his own world and his own privacy.
I mean, first of all, I want to tell you, as a big wrestling fan, he's got an amazing look. That head of hair is like perfect. Are you a wrestling fan?
I am.
You're a WWE fan?
I am.
Because you popped up on the Edge and Christian show.
Sure.
I saw it.
I've been in the ring. The last time they had their Diva search, I refereed that match.
That's right.
Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, man.
Yeah.
And the Nature Boy. Those were guys from my time. But I love wrestling.
What do you do you actively watch now, or are you just kind of peripheral?
The time commitment to Riverdale is such that I can't really actively watch anything at the moment. But I watch whenever I can. Great thing about those guys, they got their own network. It's out there all the time now, 24 hours a day. You get the WWE channel, you see it all the time.
Absolutely,
Except for Thursdays at 9 o'clock, because people will be watching Riverdale on the CW. And we rechristened the CW. CW means cool. Watch it.
That's great. There's a little comma in there too, right? It's the C, comma W.
There
cool.
is now.
Watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's got to be great for you is SmackDown got moved to Tuesdays, which means Thursdays are wide open.
Well, yeah. And
for Riverdale.
And who wants to be competing with SmackDown?
No.
Because SmackDown and Raw are in the top 20 every week.
Isn't that amazing?
For 15 years they have been. Those are the most consistent two programs in the top 20.
So have you been a wrestling fan since you were a kid?
Yeah.
And did it ever escape you, or has it always just kind of been something that you're interested in?
Nothing escapes me.
It doesn't, does it?
It's always been something I'm interested in. I appreciate the level of theater that goes on in it. It is fantastic. I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of the performers, and they've all been really nice guys.
Isn't that amazing? That I feel like, you meet athletes, and they're not always the nicest guys in the world. No. But I've met almost every pro wrestler that I could want to meet. And I've never been disappointed. That whole, you don't want to meet your heroes thing, I haven't experienced that.
When you met John Cena, you were not disappointed.
He was the guy.
Rey Mysterio?
Right.
Love that dude.
Right.
Like I said, I've been fortunate enough. We've met a lot of them. Kane, the great Khali.
How was Khali? I
Triple H.
haven't met Khali.
He was really lovely. I remember he reached down to sign an autograph, and it's difficult for him to hold the pen because it's so small compared to his hand. It's like him taking a sewing needle and writing with it. And it was, when you see the physical size of him,
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
David Batista, who's having quite a career for himself as an actor.
Yeah. Do you get happy when you see? Because I feel like pro wrestlers don't get a ton of respect in the more mainstream industry. Do you get happy when you see a guy like The Rock or Batista that can kind of break through that and craft out a career for themselves?
I don't like people trying to pigeonhole you and telling you what you're about and what you can do and what you can't do. Clearly, Dwayne Johnson never listened to anybody. He says, "I'm going to do what I'm going to do."
Right.
And I think David Batista is kind of getting on that path now. He's going to do. And I've met Big Show. He's a great guy. He's like that. Cena's had a lot of success in movies. Those guys got a good thing going. They put up some great entertainment.
And you probably had a similar attitude in the sense that, I'm sure the bigger 90210 got, the more people wanted that to be you. Well, we figured out what Luke Perry is. He's our guy from 90210, and whether that show's on the air or not, that's what we want to put on our show. And you have to make the decision to not do that, which can be a risk, right?
That's what acting's about, taking risk. That's where all the good work lies, on the other side of some risk.
Yeah. So who was your favorite wrestler growing up? I'm obsessed with wrestling, so that to me is
we're talking about the American Dream now. We're talking about Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was my favorite wrestler. He was a friend of mine. I got to know him pretty well before he passed.
How'd you get to know him?
We're backstage at Anaheim, and I was taking my son to, I think we were going to meet Triple H, and as we were walking across the room, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Dusty Rhodes, and I said, "Show's over, son. Time out. I don't care who else is here. We'll get to them." And I made a beeline straight to that man. And he put his arms around me. He hugged me. I got to squeeze, and I said, "This is big for me." I've met every actor in the world, not so much. When I met Dusty Rhodes, that was a big deal.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing what those guys can do? And I don't know if it's something about being human superheroes, or there's something about it. If you really love it and appreciate it, there's no actor or whoever it is that's going to measure up to being like, no, but that's him. That's Dusty.
That's him. That's Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's the one and only. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I got a buddy of mine who is doing a show with him right now, a documentary on him. He's spending a lot of time.
Is that the 30 for 30?
With Rick. I don't know if it's going to be a 30 for 30 yet, but it's about Flair.
Right.
It's all about Flair. And he's a Riverdale fan.
Ric Flair is?
Woo! Yeah.
How many?
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
Do you have a favorite Dusty or Ric Flair promo that you would watch growing up?
Oh yeah, when Dusty would talk about being the son of a plumber, right? In West Texas, where it's hot as hell. Yeah, and he'd talk it, man, and that was a great thing. Nobody wrote that stuff.
No,
he would just sit right down. He'd look right down that pipe of that camera, and he'd start laying it down to you. He'd start telling you how it was, baby, telling you about him being sexy, about him being the American dream. And I would sit there, and as a kid, knowing I wanted to be an actor, I'm sitting there going, "This is one of the best actors I've ever seen."
Yeah,
and he is just up there rolling.
So
he would roll.
You didn't have a moment as a kid where you wanted to be a wrestler? It was always an actor?
Look at me, dude.
That's what yeah.
Who are we kidding?
Right.
I knew that wasn't coming around, but I still appreciate, I appreciate great writing, right? I appreciate when it's done well. Dusty, fabulous. Nobody ever wrote that. That was him. That was all him all the time.
I mean, you can go on YouTube or the network now and watch these promos from the 80s, and when Dusty's like, "Put your hands up on the screen."
Yeah.
Like, you still get the same
goosebumps.
Yeah,
he was like Reverend Ike. He was calling you, "Put your hand up on the screen now. Reach out and touch the dream."
Where'd you grow up?
Ohio.
So what?
In a small town, not unlike Riverdale, only not all the freaky stuff going on. But that's the thing about this show is small towns,
right,
are where all the freaky stuff happens.
There's always folklore and legend surrounding these things, isn't there?
There is. And all the small towns that I've lived in, no different. There's always freaky stuff going on. It's never the people you think it will be.
Yeah.
And Riverdale is a great way to have a look at that sort of dynamic that totally exists in America.
Do you like doing a show like Riverdale because it allows you, not dissimilar from professional wrestling while we're on the topic, but it allows you to do a lot more, like you're not restricted necessarily to the confines of reality?
Yeah, the gentleman who writes our show, Roberto Aguirre, he's not restricted by any reality. He's only restricted by his own imagination and his good taste. And he's put together some great scripts for this thing. I mean, he was singularly the voice that got me interested and turned it all around for me, made me want to get in and do this thing.
Yeah. Is there anything in the acting world that you haven't done that you specifically want to, or is it just about finding roles?
I'm looking to run on top of a moving train and jump car to car. I've always wanted to do it.
And it hasn't happened yet.
I had a movie going. It got canceled where I was going to get to do that. And it was the worst. And dude, I've made some bad movies. This was the worst. And I said I was going to do it anyway. My agent's like, "You are not." And I said, "Did you see on page 6 where it says I run on top of the moving train?" I said, "All you need to do is confirm that they have a train and that I'm going to get to run on it, not the stuntman, and then I'm signing this." And he's like, "You are not." I said, "I am." And I did. And then the movie fell apart. But I was ready to go just so I could run on top of that train.
That didn't even, and even if it had fallen apart after you had shot that scene, you could have at least said, "Can I just have the footage of the train run?"
More to the point, if I can just find a slow-moving train, I'm getting on.
Somebody whip out their iPhone and we'll make our own movie.
I'll selfie that. Check this. That would be cool.
Yeah, I think so. I read that the promotion that your son was. Well, first of all, was pro wrestling something that you brought into your family? Did you, or was it something that your son found?
They find their own way. Kids find their way to stuff in life.
See, I'm wondering that because my wife is pregnant with a boy, and all I want is to have a little wrestling buddy. Yeah. But I don't know if I feel like if I try too hard, he's going to be like, "Dad, this isn't cool."
Doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
He's going to be who he is, and you're going to have to find your place in that. That's what parenthood is. You give your children every opportunity you can. You try to teach them all the things you know. They are who they are. They're going to be who they're going to be. You've got to find the way to support that and to stay in their life. And that's what your job is.
Just push them with whatever it is that they are doing with support.
Don't push them.
Right.
Just let them roll it out as it's rolling out for them. It's I think that's one of the biggest gifts you can give your child is let them have their own life. Let them figure it out with everything. Don't indoctrinate them in any way. Let them figure it out and try to find what you can do to support that.
You've seen a lot of pro wrestling. Is there anything you wouldn't want him to do?
There's all kinds of shit I don't want him doing, but that that's not always up to me. That's something he and I talk about. But he doesn't want me to discuss this too much. So.
Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't because he wants to
get past that. He's on his own thing.
Do it on his own thing. Have you, just in terms of you being a fan of this stuff, have you met Vince McMahon?
I have.
What's that like? I mean, I've talked to him very briefly.
He runs that show, and when I say he runs that show, I mean when they're in there at 2:00 in the afternoon doing a rehearsal, Vince McMahon standing in the middle of the ring with a clipboard and a headset on, going, "Okay, cue these lights, bang. And when I say that, I want that to happen. Now bring him out. He calls the shots on how that stuff goes down. And I know a lot of guys who that have a lot of money, own a lot of stuff. They wouldn't be there doing that. But you can tell how much Vince loves it, and it's what he does. It's what he's about. It's what that family's about.
Yeah.
And I had never seen anything quite like that. But to see him stand there calling the shots at the rehearsal, that brother runs the show.
Do you like that as a performer? Like, you can obviously put yourself in the position of a wrestler as a performer. Do you like seeing a guy like that you're like, you know what? I might not have all the freedom in the world to do whatever I want, but I know I can trust that guy because he definitely has a vision. Mm-hmm. Do you like that? Like, when you see that, do you walk in knowing I can trust that, or do you prefer a looser environment?
I really like, when someone's in charge on the set with a director.
Yes.
I like to hear one voice. I like to hear one person giving me direction, telling me what's going on. That's the nature of how film works. That's why they call it the last dictatorial position there is. There's one guy, and he gets to call all the shots. Vince McMahon, in his world, is very much that dictator, that guy that says, this is how it's going to go, and this is why. And because he's had so much success, people don't question it. He tells them to do something, it gets done.
Right.
And that's how it works. That's efficiency.
Yes.
And that's how I try to be on the set. Director tells me to do something, I do it.
Right.
I don't ask a lot of questions. I do it because that's my job.
But what makes it difficult, and it would make it difficult there and would make it difficult for you, is if there's a whole bunch of different people, middle management type people running around going, why don't you try this? Well, why don't you try that? And this guy over here, and you're like, I don't need all these.
I'd say, why don't I try that? Because the director didn't tell me to.
That's it.
Yeah, and because I didn't feel it and he didn't tell me to, hence, it's not getting tried.
Right.
If you want it to be tried, go be a director somewhere. With the wrestlers, they pretty clear. When Vince tells them it's going like this, that's how it's going.
Right. But if some other guy comes up to him and goes, have you thought about that? They're like,
I don't work for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's only one name on the paycheck.
Look at that. Is that your name? Yeah, then you're in my way.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's the same guy who's paid guys that have been more successful than you.
And you're in his way. So now you got to go.
What was the environment like shooting the show Oz? Oz is one of my favorite TV shows ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think it gets enough credit. I just think it's such a great, from top to bottom, such a great show. And I thought your story arc on that show was awesome.
Yeah, I think televangelists need to be locked up behind a wall.
Yeah. Not just locked up. I mean, like cemented.
Yeah,
behind a
hammered,
wall.
Man, that was a wild scene. I loved working on that show.
Yeah,
it was a very intense experience because it was all on one set. It was on the 16th floor of a building here in the city, down in the Meat District. And once you stepped off that elevator into that, you were in that prison for the rest of the day until we got to go out lunchtime. And usually on sets you can go away. Not really any place to go.
So that's sort of like a uncomfortable, closed-in vibe. It hits you real quick.
Yeah, and it starts to, and it smells like 100 dudes when you get off that elevator, man. It was the summertime.
Right.
Whew, man, it was funky in there. You'd step off that set and be like, yeah. But it was, I was so happy to be in the company of that ensemble of actors, serving those scripts by those writers. Tom Fontana, the Weitzel's, Sunil. There's just great writing on the show. And again, I was so happy to be in there with actors of that caliber and getting to do stuff that, you weren't going to see on 90210 for sure.
No.
But I love the idea and the concept of this experimental prison because there's no story you couldn't tell. Because of it.
Not dissimilar from what we're talking about with the show now on the CW.
Exactly. You want to give yourself as much creative room by not defining it up front. You want to give yourself as much creative room to expand as you can. And I always felt with Oz, they were really well positioned to do that.
That's what drives me crazy about TV shows is that I like, and I watched the premiere episode of Riverdale, and I like that it does open it up. We start from an open position because I watch shows sometimes that like start here and start to get successful, and when they realize they're going to be able to do multiple seasons, I can watch halfway through the first season, they're tweaking things and they're changing things so all of a sudden more is possible, and like to me it takes me out of it completely because I go, you're cheating.
And they start to pander.
Yes.
Is what happens. This is one of the problems of all the social media and the internet and stuff. They'll put an episode on, and then they can go right to the social media after it airs and say, oh, people didn't like that. Oh, we shouldn't do that anymore. That's death. That is, you don't, Aaron Spelling told me, don't ask the audience what they want, tell them what they want. We'll show them what they want. They just don't know they want it yet.
Yeah.
And that is a great way to come to it for making television. I'm not, when you get into trying to please all the people all the time, you don't please anybody.
Right. And that's why certain people are paid to do it. That's why there is a profession, because like we know how to tell a story.
We all do. You tell them, we all know how to tell them. But I don't know how to tell them through 10 different voices over the course of 12 weeks. I mean, it is a gift. It is a talent, and it's also a really big job to be the showrunner of something like this. And he's super creative.
When you talk about taking direction and stuff, like a TV show, I'm assuming Riverdale, I think Oz, like generally speaking, it's a different director per episode, one showrunner, but different directors are brought in.
Yes.
Does that complicate it at all in terms of it being one vision, or do you just take it episode by episode?
Episode by episode. That's a really good way, because you want to give each director their entire... Somebody's giving me that. You want?
I think he was giving it.
Yeah. Sorry, he's tapping. He's taking his pulse.
Luke, wrap it up.
Each director, you want them to have their whole world for a week, where you'll do anything that they ask of you, and it's theirs. But they need to know, come Thursday, you're out. There's some other dude in here, and we are serving him,
right,
or her.
Right.
Oftentimes it's a her, and that's good. I've had some really great experiences.
And it probably does help to keep TV series life fresh, in the sense that way things are changing. It's not like you're just doing one thing for months upon months upon months.
And yet the flip side of that is you want to keep some of these directors familiar and coming back around, because it helps to keep it cohesive, and they do remember. What we found on 90210 at the end was it was impossible to bring a director up to speed on 8 years of backstory.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's when you see a lot of times in the later seasons the actors will start directing the episodes, because they know all that
They've
stuff.
been there.
They don't have to explain it all. They understand why that character does that and why that character does that.
That makes sense. Well, Luke Perry, you are the man. I think everybody knew that, but now it's been confirmed.
Likewise, dude. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Riverdale is on the CW Thursdays at 9 p.m., and I would recommend checking it out. And obviously, you're promoting it with an energy that I feel like you're actually behind the show. You can always tell when somebody comes in and they're not, and you know what I mean? It's a contractual, this is when the show's on. But let me tell you what else I'm doing. It seems like you actually...
But let me tell you about my podcast.
Exactly.
Let me tell you about my blog. No, I don't do that. I love this show, and I'm down for it.
You don't see yourself starting a podcast?
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say.
You're good where you are. Well, thank you very much, man.
It's a total pleasure, brother. Thank you for having me. And that's the end of that match. They're out.